One of our next guests is an award-winning and legendary fashion designer and businesswoman, and the other is an Emmy and Academy Award-winning filmmaker and journalist. Their documentary, Dionne von Furstenberg, Woman in Charge, begins streaming on Hulu on June 25th. Let's take a look.
The adventures you've gone on with, and you've talked about the men you've been with, you haven't hidden behind a sort of persona that a lot of successful women feel they have to. Why?
Well, I mean, I could ask you the same question. I mean, why do you have to hide? Why? Why?
Society makes you think about...
Well, no, why do you have to hide? What my mother taught me is take responsibility of yourself. And so I've taken the responsibility of all the things I've done. The only place to find your strength is by being true to yourself.
Please welcome to the show Dionne von Furstenberg and Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. Welcome to the show. Congratulations on this film, which is a wonderful collaboration between the two of you. How did the two of you first meet?
Oh, we met on stage.
Yes.
Sharmeen was getting an award, and they asked me to give it to her. And she had just made a wonderful documentary called Saving Face. And it was about a woman who had had acid on her face. And so I gave her I introduced her. She came, gave me the award, and then that woman came on stage, and that's how we met.
That's a wonderful film that was an Oscar-winning film, and you were the first Pakistani filmmaker to receive that. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Well, she got two Oscars.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just setting the record straight, Bess.
What appealed to you about DVF as as a documentary subject?
You know, I think Dionne has had this incredible life, which really started at the end of the Second World War. And she was born out of the ashes of that war because her mother was at Auschwitz. And really the trajectory of a woman who then became a businesswoman at a time when, you know, women needed men to co-sign for something as little as a credit card. And then the sexism that came with it, being an immigrant in America, sort of starting a new business, falling down, picking yourself up again. Tell me something. Is there something that hasn't happened to Dionne? She's really lived that life.
It really is amazing. And I would imagine one of the things that makes Dionne, other than her incredible story, an incredible archive as at your fingerprints. As a documentary filmmaker, I mean, it strikes me that you have saved everything.
I have.
Yes.
Yes, yes. But I've always saved things. I saved letters. I write my diary. I've written my diary always. And I advise all of you to write your diary because it's a connection with yourself, and I think that's really important.
I've heard you've talked about your mother before and her incredible story. One of the things I loved about this film was I got to see photos of her. I got to see archival footage of her.
And she speaks.
She speaks. I've never seen her speak. And she does for someone who spent 18 months in a death camp. She seemed to be someone, again, who seemed optimistic, who thought there was something better in this world.
Oh, she wanted me and my brother to have a big life, you know? And she never allowed me to be afraid. I wasn't allowed to be afraid. I wasn't allowed to be a victim. And she pushed me, always pushed me, go, go. She never told me, be careful. She said, be responsible.
It must be nice to have a documentary subject who has no fear and is not careful, because it seems like DVF tells you everything.
It was incredible. I think what the most... You know, we would sit down, literally, with her archives, with the diaries, with the photographs, and you would pull them out, and then you would have Andy Warhol, and you would have Susan Sontag, and you would have, you know, the entire world, because Dionne has lived that kind of life, and she's preserved all those memories so that that story can be told. And I think it was incredible to have not only the archive, but her stories that go with it.
Can I ask you to tell, I mean, a favorite story of mine is you got offered to work on a project with Mick Jagger and David Bowie. A collaboration, is that what you call it?
Yeah, I could. We'll call it whatever you want. It never happened anyway.
It's a great story for her grandchildren.
Yes. So they basically, though, come on, don't, they want to hear. What did they ask?
No, it's just a stunt.
It's in the documentary.
All right. Okay. So Mick Jagger, who's a friend of mine, and actually I'm the godmother of one of his daughters, he showed up at 11 at night with his friend David Bowie, and they kind of like to show off after each other, you know, and they both pretend that they speak Cockney, but they really don't. And so they thought, you know, I'm going to show you this woman uptown, and she's a beautiful apartment, we can have fun. And then for a minute I thought, yeah, we could have fun, and that would be something I could tell my grandchildren. But it turned out that it didn't happen, and it's a better story.
Do you, we talked about, you know, obviously the wrap dress is still with us today. It's iconic. And there's a great story, which I did not know, about you took a photo shoot for it on a white box. And you realized there was sort of this negative space. And you wrote, feel like a woman, wear a dress. First of all, your handwriting has always been so beautiful. It's one of the stars of the film. And then this became like just sort of an iconic piece of advertising for the dress.
I mean, it happened completely by accident. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't afford, I mean, I didn't want to spend money for a model, so I bought a dress. I called a friend of mine who was a photographer. I sat on a white cube. I took the picture. And then when we tried to put the little ad, I didn't, you know, I bought just a small ad in Women's Wear Daily. That big white box was so big. So I had the picture in my hand, so I wrote on the cube. It just came to my mind, feel like a woman, wear a dress. And it stuck with me for 50 years.
And do you remember the first time you bought a wrap dress, Charmaine?
I do. I bought it in college to wear to a sorority party. And I went to the thrift store, 1998.
Yeah. That was the first comeback.
Yes, exactly. And so we were all going through these thrift stores. I went to Smith's or Northampton, and I would be sort of, we would all be taking it out. It was the rebirth of the wrap dress at that time.
I'm sorry that she got it at a thrift store, so you didn't make
No,
it.
that's called, it's called sustainability.
There you go.
Yes.
That is sustainability. There are some incredible talking heads in this film. Hillary Clinton, Oprah Winfrey, among others. I did an interview with you.
He made it.
I barely made it by the skin of my teeth. And thank you. This would have been so awkward today for the three of us to be here.
Had we interviewed you and said, I'm so sorry, Seth, I just didn't make it.
I want to leave because there's a lovely thing you say about, people always say, how old are you? And you feel like there's a better question to ask.
Yes. How long have you lived?
How long have you lived?
Because even if you tell a child, you're 10 years old, how long have you lived? 10? You have actually lived 10 years. Then all of a sudden, age is a pride.
There you go. It's a lovely, one of the many beautiful lessons in this documentary. It is a lovely film. Congratulations to you both. It is so lovely to have you back on the show. So lovely to have you for the first time. Diane von Furstenberg and Charmaine Obeid-Chinoy, everybody. Diane von Furstenberg and Vanessa. Available on Hulu June 25th. We'll be right back with more later.